Here we are again. Good to be with you. Good to be with you. My story today is of two friends, Ali from Iran and Miguel from Colombia. And they met in the United States in a world religions class. And they became fast friends. They started having dinner together every night, and they would talk about their class as it related to other things. And late in the semester, they were just getting to Christianity and Islam, and they were assigned to read Matthew chapters 5 through 7 in the New Testament, that text which is known as the Sermon on the Mount. And they started talking about the line where it says, "Happy are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." What does that mean? They talked, and the conversation went on for several meal times. One of them looked up the meaning of the word persecution and came up with the idea that the core meaning of the word is to be put to death for your religious activity or even your religious beliefs. Refusing to worship the emperor, for example. If the Roman soldier says, "Worship the emperor or die," you know whose will you are going to do. Because there is a happiness that has already started to come into you because of your relationship with God. And in that relationship with God, you begin to discover what righteousness really is. If you're struggling with a growth problem, you may find that you don't make a whole lot of progress until you get to that soul level of hunger and thirst for righteousness. And that opens the door to the gift of righteousness, whose core is to recognize the fact of the sovereignty of God and belief in the truth of sonship with God or daughterhood. And even belief in the effectiveness, faith in the effectiveness of the supreme human desire to do the will of God, to be like God. These two guys, once they got talking, they'd hunt around. They'd talk with other professors. They'd go here and there, hungry for truth. They had found it. And instead of being complacent and sated with what they'd found, it only whetted their appetite for more. So they understood a profound happiness, and that intelligent worship brings an experience. And even though there may be a personal and a religious, cultural periphery to that experience, there's a core to that experience. And within the core to that experience, Ali understood and Miguel understood that there comes to be an assurance about eternal life. And so, persecution, what's that? And they they went on a hunt about persecution, and one of them found an old dictionary. And in that old dictionary, there was the history of the word in older languages. And it traces back to the idea of pursuing somebody, following someone thoroughly, and the connotations that have grown up would be well represented by someone's experience today of being followed by a stalker. That person is being persecuted in the original sense of the word. Harassed. If someone is being bullied, especially pursued, not just on a single occasion, repeatedly, that would be persecution. Well, what about journalists who are righteous journalists? They're not persecuted. They're not killed for their religious activity. They're murdered because of their pursuit of truth. What would Jesus say about that? What would Muhammad say about that? Well, the two realized that they were in the territory where they were uncertain and would have to leave that those answers to the next life, perhaps. Even though in wisdom, it's the kind of thing that philosophers and others do well to think about. And then Miguel said, but if I'm ever persecuted for my religious beliefs, I want it to be for my religious beliefs and not just for my misdeeds. Because I've got some misdeeds in my background. I'm a man with a past. And people can become hostile and allege that as sufficient ground for defaming me in cyberspace on factual grounds. And Ali said, I think what's really going on here depends upon the motive. And they started to talk about that. But it became clear that the concept of persecution has some paradigm cases and some fuzzy edges. No single sharp delimitation of boundaries of what is and what is not persecution. Some clear cases of what is, some clear cases of what is not. But we don't have a definition, except in the sense in which the idea of definition can encompass the notion of fuzzy edges. But then Ali said, one thing for sure, you must be ready to lay down your life in defense of the faith. And I understand perfectly well then when Muslims blow up foreign tourists in bars and say that they're defending Islam, Islam means lots of things. Islam means submitting to the will of God, putting the will of God supreme in one's life. And everything that differs with that is subordinate. Other considerations may have their place. One does not seek to become a martyr. Peacemaking is the order of the day, but that may fail. And if that fails, one must be prepared. One must be prepared for any consequences. And Miguel said, how do you develop the quality of character that enables you to have that constant courage, that readiness to face whatever may come? They talked about that. And Ali had to think about that. And he started to say, if you grow up in a culture that honors martyrs, real martyrs, you may not be ready early on, but you know that there is a stage of growth at which you are expected to be ready and worthy. And in childhood, in your teenage years, many people are not worthy, especially as the hold of religion on so many young people is not strong for lots of understandable reasons when you consider the abuses of the religious tradition. The word Islam has a second meaning, and that's historical religion that goes through history with its magnificent moments and its ugly moments. And not just moments, stretches of time. Currents within this mass of humanity moving through history towards a destiny that God has ordained. You can criticize what Muslims have done without attacking Islam in the first sense. No sincere lover of God has any interest in attacking Islam in that core first sense of total righteous commitment to seeking and finding and choosing and doing the will of God. And so they continued to talk and continued to think as the words from the Beatitude, which means beatitude means happiness. That says, happy are they who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Ali and Miguel were profoundly agreed about the truth of that great teaching. And so for now, whatever is going on in your life and in our world, always know that you are a divinely created, infinitely loved child of God with that spirit gift of the God of heaven living within you as an evolutionary free will son or daughter of God and brother or sister to every personality that you meet. Good day.